Welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast on the Prepper Broadcasting Network. We talk prepping, guns, and politics every week on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Go check out our content at mwfpodcast.com on Facebook or Instagram. You can support us via Patreon or by checking out our affiliate partners. I'm your host, Phil Rabalais. Andrew and Nick are on the other side of the mic, and here's your show. Welcome back to Matter of Facts podcast. Phil and Nick are back behind the mic. Stuart's already in the chat stirring up trouble and telling us that Facebook has screwed us over again.
Zuckerberg!
Yes. So, I don't know what the over-under is for we pissed off the Zuck, we got meted out of existence, or it's just a standard issue technical difficulty. Who knows?
I know what you did, Phil. I know exactly what you did.
What'd I do? There are no firearms behind me.
But before
I'm not holding a flashbang.
Air,
I haven't said anything to piss off any of the managers of the watch list. What have I done this time?
Before we got on the air, you did show me a very nicely well redone SKS on camera. I bet you Facebook preemptively shut it down.
Yeah, Stuart is saying not even past lives on Fakebook. So, yeah, Facebook might have officially, zucked us out of existence finally. That's disappointing.
Fine.
Oh, well, that's why the podcast is streamed every Thursday on YouTube and on Rumble. It says...
My wife says we are live on Facebook, but it does not show the post that we are going to be live. Odd how the people on the show don't get notified that we're going live. Even though we're noted as the content creators.
Yeah, although that being said, I'm not super concerned about Facebook just because, I can't think of the last time somebody actually watched this show from Facebook.
Your wife.
On rare occasion.
Yeah.
And, Facebook is basically digital brain cancer in the making. So, anyway.
Most social media is digital brain cancer.
Yes, but then there's the really aggressive, incurable shit, and then there's your garden variety, take drugs and feel better shit, and
Tumblr?
Facebook is definitely... Oh, you had to go there, Tumblr. Oh! What's worse, in Nick, Tumblr or Reddit? Ooh.
Tumblr.
The audio...
Reddit does have some of those hyper-specific forums that are really useful. I encountered a guy on Reddit in a machinist sub forum, deep into the machinist forums, that had all the original manuals and catalog for my lathe back in the corner back here. And so he sent me very nicely scanned copies of that, just because we have the same lathe.
I will grant you this. Reddit does have a few shining bright spots, other than making fun of tankies.
That too.
Making fun of tankies.
Jeff is right here, though. Facebook Marketplace, great place to sell stuff.
Yes. But, yeah, I'll give you that. Tumblr is brain cancer, and I don't know. Reddit is maybe their skin cancer, where it kind of sucks, but you can survive it.
Their IPO killed Reddit.
Yeah.
It is dying slowly because they are hemorrhaging the things that made Reddit good.
As with most of the internet right now, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whenever it gets bought up by a large conglomerate or as an IPO, it all goes downhill.
Yeah. Well, let's do admin work, and then we'll finish the conversation we started right before we start talking, and then we'll get to the topic. So... patrons, if you are a patron, we appreciate it. If you're not a patron, you should think about becoming a patron. You'd be part of a very, very large, distinguished group of sociopaths that fund this show and keep it going. And a bunch of them are actually in the comments section right now, probably misbehaving.
Ideally.
I mean, based on the way they welcome every new patron to the closed signal chat, I mean, if whichever one of y'all is the disguised FBI handler, boy, did you get a rude awakening when you joined this bunch of autistic idiots.
Yeah,
it was all demands for pictures of your princess parts and discussions about crazy autistic stuff.
The artistic nature today was very much on full display. Somebody got very fun with AI.
Oh, yeah. Someone's been having a lot of fun with AI lately.
Some of them are pretty good. They're very well done.
Yeah, although whoever morphed me into Santa Claus, that was
peak. That was really good.
That was peak, especially because it left my beard black. It left my beard dark.
It kind of did. All it would have had to do was a color palette swap. My God.
I mean, it's not even like it had to mess with me much. It literally just put me in a Santa suit, and there it was. It was the Cajun Santa Claus. Anyway. Otherwise, supporting the show, you can use code MOF at Disaster Coffee. Get yourself some really good coffee at a slight discount, because coffee's freaking expensive, but coffee's freaking necessary.
Yeah, and it's really good coffee.
It is really good coffee. I'm actually fueling with bunker beans right now, as is my usual habit.
Excellent.
And there's also merch at the Southern Gals that links in the show description. Support a small business, support us. Funny t-shirts. Mm-hmm. I'm particularly proud of the What Would Bert Do?
That one is good. Though I have to say, the ladies' favorites are the Burnt Out But Optimistic, and the, what's the possum one?
I'm a Delight.
Oh, yeah, I'm a Delight, yeah. That's definitely a favorite that my wife has taken to work with her.
Yeah. All right, so right before we rolled, Nick and I were talking and bull crapping, and I had to stop him to be like, whoa, we should have this conversation while the camera's rolling so everybody else can join in. So we were just committing like gun guy heresy by saying that I was saying I don't need any more guns, and Nick was actually talking about selling guns.
I was.
So we were both kind of like, here's my gun guy card. You can take it and shred it anytime you would like.
Well, I think that there at a certain point in any hobby, you need to reevaluate. And let's be honest, shooting is a hobby for the both of us, I think. You're not a professional soldier. I'm not a cop. You were, but you're not anymore.
Bold of you to assume I'm not anymore, Nick, but go ahead.
You could be a government plant trying to rile us all up into shenanigans.
Let me tell you that there is not an operator on Earth with a midsection quite like mine.
True.
Safe bet, I'm just your garden variety redneck.
True. But I do think this applies to most hobbies, and I have guns in my safe that I have not shot in years. One of them because the rifling is completely torched on it. It's a Savage 1903 semi-automatic. With the sights are atrocious if you've never used one. They're about that far apart, and the blade, the notch. You could maybe catch a fingernail in the notch, and the blade's about 3 times as wide as the notch.
Nice.
It's terrible. It's absolutely awful. But I got it for a really fantastic deal, and at the time I was kind of into antique firearms. I'm not anymore. Mm-hmm. That really doesn't have a place to me in my hobby anymore, because number one, it's a caliber that I don't have the reloading components for.
What caliber?
It's 32 auto.
Oh,
I know. It's kind of a terrible caliber. It doesn't
Well,
fit.
it's not that it's a terrible caliber.
It's it is.
It's oh, well, okay. I wasn't going to like throw salt in that wound.
I am going to.
What I meant to say was it's not that it's a terrible caliber that makes me groan, even though it is. Mm-hmm. It's the fact that like components don't cross over to anything. Don't. It's okay. So it's not like recently the family was like, cutting up a gun selection, spreading it out. And one of the firearms that came up was a Charter Arms, I think it was a Bulldog, in 32 H&R Magnum.
Okay.
Now, 32 H&R Magnum, or that revolver cartridge, it's I don't want to say it's obscure. It's difficult to find ammo for, but you can find 32 H&R, you can find 32 Smith & Wesson, like you have options.
Yeah, there are other 32 caliber cases out there. But not and 32 ACP it's basically just 32 ACP. There's no other Wildcat cartridge out there that a lot of people use for it. It was very popular back in the day.
In like the turn of the last century.
Yeah. This pistol was made in, I think my particular one was made in 1907. The Colt 1903 came out. 1903? Yeah, I think Colt came out with their little pocket hammerless in 1903 as well. I had one of those too. It was terrible. It was. Well, it was. It was. It's the grip is too small. The sights are too close together. It was not designed with a shooter in mind. It was designed to be a pocket pistol that was easily concealable, that was light, and it was comfortable. And it held 10 rounds, bore more than a revolver, which at the time was what most people would have.
And what was the common revolver cartridge of that time? 32 Smith & Wesson,
It was,
right?
yeah, 32 Smith & Wesson,
So,
which would be why 32 auto was very common.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess what I'm saying is like the fact that it's 32 auto really tells you,
Yeah, it is an
Jeff
upgrade
saying
from 25
back when 32 was an upgrade from 25.
It was.
But I mean, you're talking about a throwback to a time like pre 9mm, pre 45 ACP. I mean, that was a time period where 32 auto, that was the de facto.
It was the semi-auto cartridge. Unless you get into Europe where they had some oddballs.
But even in Europe, you got like the Borchardt and the C96 that were originally chambered in like 30 Mauser. Small bore handgun cartridges were the soup du jour of the day.
Oh, it was, and part of that was due to the fact that they were all direct blowback.
Yep.
So there are some limitations for caliber when you get into direct blowback in pistols.
Mm-hmm.
But
especially with the metallurgy of the time.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the metallurgy was good enough to do the 1911 in 1903. It was. The design wasn't around at that point, but the metals technology didn't change that much until, well, let's see. Chrome moly steel had been around. Manganese steel was around. You didn't get the more consistent blends of steel until mid World War I and beyond. Actually, World War I really pushed steel manufacturing consistency quite rapidly.
Mm-hmm. Well, World War I and II did what every war has done, which is take the speed lever on technology and shove it all the way forward.
Yeah, with unlimited government money printing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, but even you and I have had that conversation about just the way body armor exploded in developmental capacity from
GWAT
2000. Well, yeah, from 2003 at the very beginning of GWAT to what they issue today. It's gone through several generational turnovers in just a span of 10 years. I mean, even the stuff I was issuing in 2004 when I jumped the Burma to Iraq, compare notes to the guys that were deployed in 2006, 2007, 2008,
massively
and
it's
a completely different world. Just that fast, everything we started OIF with was obsolete by the time we got home.
Yep.
We were learning that fast, and not just armor. I mean, hell, IFACs, medical equipment, friggin' SOPs. Everything changed at warp speed.
It does,
because it got subjected to the ultimate, BS filter. Does it work or does it get you killed?
Yeah, exactly. And if it doesn't work, you have a pressure test that is non-falsifiable. Yeah, you can't falsify combat.
So to your point about downsizing some of the guns in your collection because they just don't fit.
They don't. I mean, another one's my 300 Win Mag. As much as I love that rifle, there is nothing in this state that requires a 300 Win Mag to hunt. Just let's be completely realistic here. Not only can you not hunt legally with a 300 Win Mag, I can't even shoot it at most of the ranges around by me. I have to drive out of state to find a range that has longer than 100 yards. And I'm not taking that 300 Win Mag out on a 100-yard range. It's not even getting the cartridge to begin to stretch. I can't see bullet-to-bullet deviation at 100 yards with that rifle.
That's like using a nuke sub to go friggin' trout fishing.
Exactly. It's just not appropriate to me at 100-yard range. 300 yards I consider kind of like my minimum for bringing that rifle with me anymore. Now that I have the loads developed for it and I can put them exactly where I intend them to go, it's kind of like it's a waste. It's a waste of the effort.
That's kind of the reason I've talked myself out of 330 Lapua so many times, because Like, do I want one just because it's a big, silly cartridge that I can play around with and make big, big, big noises at the gun range? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a pretty good reason to buy anything. It's just because it puts a big, stupid smile on your face. But practically, realistically, knowing the way I am with firearms, I bought an $800 and something Beretta A300. Mm-hmm. I have spent well more than that amount plus another 50% in outfitting that shotgun, ammunition, optic, and everything else. And it's just like, I know that the cost of entry to a decent 338, Lapua Magnum. What do you think, Nick? $800 to $1,200?
I think Savage makes one, if I remember correctly, that was in the
110.
Yeah, the Savage 110. I think it was in the 900s, high 800s, low 900s. So, not bad. But now you're into now you're into Magnum scopes too.
Yeah. So call it $1,000 out the door. Mm-hmm. And then add a scope and scope rings and add several extra magazines, because let's just call it what it is. I'm not going to friggin' run out the door with just one mag. I'm going to have several spares.
Exactly.
And then the absolutely asinine cost that I would subject myself to tool up my reloading bench to reload 330 Lapua Magnum.
Which is Magnum Press, number one, because those cartridges won't fit in your Rock Chucker or your Hornady or your Dillon.
Are you sure they don't fit in a Rock Chucker?
I am certain they don't fit in a Rock Chucker, because that is why I did not buy the 338 that a friend of mine had for sale.
Because I know for a fact that RCBS makes a press specific for 50 BMG.
They do,
but I didn't remember
you need it for all the belted Magnums. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain 338 Lapua is one of the taller Magnums that does not fit in a Rock Chucker.
But I guess what I'm saying is, like, let's obfuscate that for a second. Sure. Let's say that I'm right and you're wrong, and you can actually reload in a Rock Chucker. Anyone in the comment section cares to take me a task on that. I thought that was the case, but I'm not married to that opinion. But let's say for a moment you are. Mm-hmm. You're talking about a set of dies, which could be the cheap part of this.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about powder. And if I recall correctly, a 1 pound jug of powder would load something like, 35 to 45 rounds at a 1 pound of powder, depending on the load you were using in the powder. Like, I would shoot through an 8-pound jug of powder just doing load development. Mm-hmm. Plus all the bullets, and 338 caliber bullets are not freaking cheap. And then I'm going to need to go talk to someone to have my shoulder rearranged afterwards, because a 338 Lapua Magnum is a bastard of a heavy hitting rifle.
Oh, just put a brake on it. Blow out the eardrums of the Rangemaster and put a brake on it.
Oh, woohoo. The other thing that I can't afford to screw up any worse than it already is, Nick. I already have a blown rotator cuff, and I lost half the hearing in this year.
Fine.
What else have I got to lose?
It's fine. It's plug and muff. Stuart says I'm incorrect.
Not belted. I didn't think it was belted.
No, I didn't think it was belted, but I was under the impression that the case length was similar to the belted cartridges, which apparently I'm wrong. Hey, we learned something today.
Yeah. I was about to say, dude, like the Rock Chuckers.
It's a tall press. It is.
It's a fairly tall press. Mm-hmm. I think the only thing you can't reload in, if I remember right, was 50 BMG. And that's because, like, the entire case is as tall as the RAM is.
Well, yeah, there's that.
But in any case.
So you could fit it in your press.
Jeff, I have to disagree with you. I kind of do need my hearing, according to my wife.
It's nice.
She gets very aggravated at me having to repeat herself multiple times. Mm-hmm. But anyway. No, like, I totally understand what you're saying, dude. And, like, it's the situation I think a lot of us run into at a certain point. Like, okay, we're listen. Mm-hmm. The two of us, everybody in the chat right now, we're all gun guys.
Yep.
We all like firearms. Like, they're interesting. They're friggin' fun to mess around with. Shooting is an incredible skill to learn and to hone.
It is. It's a multidisciplinary skill.
And to top it all off, like me, I have a thing for mechanical things. I've always been very mechanically inclined. And I love tearing apart and learning how guns work, because it is like this. It is like a physics lesson crashed face first into a grandfather clock. It's all springs and levers and angles, and it's a physics lesson. They're cool, but it is kind of gauche in the firearms community to ever say, I don't need any more, or I need to sell some. But I think after you've been doing this for a while, like at a certain point, you're prone to do that. Like you start thinking about like, do I really need it? And the problem I fall into lately isn't even like, oh, I've got too many guns, I need to get rid of some. It's more like, that'd be fun to shoot a couple of times, but am I going to keep up with it? And as it stands, like, I've got firearms in that safe that I'm thinking to myself, like, I need to put those in rotation to train with them, because I've gotten so rusty on the manual of arms. I've gotten so rusty on shooting them. Am I incapable of using them? No. Am I capable of using them to the standard that I've kind of set for myself? Absolutely not. I haven't touched them in too long.
Yep.
And making those repeated trips out to the range on a regular basis to keep that skill sharp gets a little tricky at a certain point. You know, when you have a lot of family obligations, when you have a teenage daughter, when you have a family, when you have enough things going on in your life, as an adult, you start doing the cost benefit analysis on your time.
You do. On your time, you know, and part of it too, to me, is consolidating calibers down a little bit again. I used to have a 357. I had a 45. I had a 30 carbine. I'm basically down to 30-06, 300 Win Mag, 9mm, 12 gauge, 5.56.
So let's polish this off with the real question. If you could buy it tomorrow, no matter how many you had, no matter whether you needed another one or not, what is the gun or guns, plural, that like if it became available tomorrow, you'd run out and get it?
I have always wanted to, and it's illegal in my state, so this will not happen.
Dumb.
Oh yeah, Stuart, I've got a 22. I've got two of them. I don't count those as calibers. That's a requirement if you own a gun safe to have a 22. But I think the
funny you mentioned
Rachel,
that.
I do have the Beretta Neo still in the safe.
I bought 3/4 of the firearms I own before I owned a 22.
Wow, man. Yeah, no, I can't say that. But I would love to get my hands on a modern bullpup, either Tavor 7, one of the Kel-Tec RDBs, RFBs, one of the two, or Desert Tactical, something like that. No.
Dr. Scary Guy is trying to move in on your Neo.
Absolutely not. My wife will not allow it. She loves that pistol. But simply because it's a manual of arms, it's a style of firearm that I've only ever gotten to shoot at a machine gun shoot. And it was a Steyr AUG. And I loved it. I loved how it reloaded. I loved how it moved. I loved the balance of it. I hated the trigger. And if there's one thing I have heard about modern bullpups over the Steyr AUG is the trigger has been improved. And I always wanted to have one, and I was putting money aside because I try to budget my firearms purchases, my fun purchases pretty diligently because let's be honest, firearms are expensive. Ammunition is expensive. Optics are expensive. It's all fucking expensive. Trying to be a good boy, trying to do the adult thing, and I was being reasonable about my firearms budget. I was about $500 shy of where I wanted to be in cash in the safe for popping down to my local FFL dealer and ordering a Tavor when the Illinois assault weapons ban went into practice.
Dumb.
Yep. So I will.
But on the bright side, if it ever gets overturned, then that could be a celebration present.
Oh, absolutely would. But here's the thing. You'll not be able to get one because everybody in Illinois will be buying all the shit that they were wanting to buy for the last 10 years. Because let's be honest, this is not changing anytime soon. The Supreme Court has had multiple opportunities. It has an opportunity ahead of it right now. I don't think they will do it. I really don't. I have no faith in them to uphold the Constitution anymore.
I don't like agreeing with you, but you've heard what I've said on that front.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, a Pedersen device would be amazing. I would absolutely buy one of those, Jeff. Mostly to gift to my brother because he likes antique obscure firearms.
So I've got two, and one of them is something I'm debating with myself going and getting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like it's rare. It's just, I have to have the discussion with myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really thinking hard about going out and getting a CZ75 compact BD.
Okay.
So that specific gun, because it is dimensionally almost the same as the Canik C100 that I currently carry, which is itself a CZ compact clone.
Yeah.
The primary differences being that it's only slightly heavier because it's dimensionally a little bit different. It still has the aluminum frame. It's a dedicated decocker gun, which my current gun is a manual safety, and you have to like put your thumb over the firing pin and then drop the hammer on your thumb to like, put it down to half cock notch.
Yeah.
Listen, I understand the cringe, but I'm just going to say, if you put your thumb on the back of the slide of a gun and you drop the hammer onto your thumb and you move your thumb out of the way after the hammer is firmly resting on it and that gun goes off, you can tar and feather me. I've never seen it happen before in my life. I have seen plenty of people let a hammer slip away from them trying to ease it down with their thumb. And I've seen one who moved their thumb out the way before the hammer came down. That was dumb. But the way I do it is the safest way to do it, but I would much prefer to have, all right, Stuart said we just went live on Facebook. I would much prefer to have like a true decocker CZ. Sure. And honestly, like this C100, so I just renewed my carry permit for the second time.
Mm-hmm. So you've been carrying it 5 years, 10 years?
No. I just renewed it for the second time. I've had a concealed carry permit for 15 years now. No, 10 years. Yep, got it. Renewed it once, 5 years, renewed it a second time.
Yeah,
I've had this carry permit 10 years. I've been carrying this C100. I've had this C100 a little bit longer than that, but this C100 has been in continuous carry and usage for 10 years. I am getting to the point where I would feel better having a second gun that is ostensibly similar enough that holsters, magazines, and everything else transposes over. That way, if one goes down, I've got a spare. Or, God forbid, one ends up in an evidence locker.
You could, and this is what I like to recommend to people if they've got a gun that they carry a lot or that they run at the range a lot, do a spring refresh kit.
Yep.
It's so cheap and so easy.
It's slightly less easy with a CZ, especially like the 75 series of guns, because changing the mainspring is stupidly easy. Changing the hammer spring is not difficult. But changing the trigger return spring on the bastards, which is what tends to break, that can get a little persnickety.
But to me, if it's a spring that's known to fail on those guns, and I would imagine you shoot your carry gun about as much as I do, if not more, that might need to be done. Because look, man, you're only gonna get one hammer drop, probably, when you really need it. So if that trigger doesn't work,
Pardon me, I have to slap Stuart. Yes, I know you've had a concealed carry permit since 1995, Stuart. You've been alive since the Alamo. Hush.
Yeah. Also, I was 5. I was not eligible for a concealed carry permit.
In 1995, I was 13.
Yep. Also not eligible for a concealed carry permit, which is unconstitutional.
No, Dr. Scary Guy. Stuart is not wiser. He's just older.
He's also quite wise. The man knows a lot of things.
Don't tell him that. His head is going to get so swole up he'll be insufferable.
I have to give respect to the acquired knowledge. It's been very useful for me in the past.
I will give deference for respecting our elders as long as you admit he is elder.
Yes.
Yes. Elder is a nice way of saying old.
Yes.
Even though he probably has more hair than I do.
That's all right.
Anyway, so yeah, I am heavily considering going out and getting a 75 compact BD just to have like that backup carry gun, and then the C100, and it can trade places back and forth. They take the same mags, they fit in the same holsters. Really and truly, it'd be swap one for the other.
Yeah.
And the one gun that is like my unicorn gun, I would buy it tomorrow if I got a half-ass decent deal on one, is a Mateba Sayunica.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Okay, so let me try this one on for size. You've seen a Chiappa Rhino, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's like, your barrel index is on the bottom cylinder. It was designed by the same man that did the design work for Mateba back in the 90s that designed the Sayunica. So it is fairly similar. The barrel indexes off the bottom of the cylinder. It's not a brake action, but the top of there is no like top strap on the frame.
Interesting.
And the interesting part is this is a semi-automatic revolver. So the top frame and the bottom frame are railed together, and when you pull the trigger, the whole top of the revolver recoils back.
It's like that one weird bastard Webley design.
Yeah, but Italian.
I hate that. That's so much worse.
Okay, but hear me out. First of all, it's Italian.
Yeah, that's worse.
Second of all, I've been a Mateba nerd. Yes, anime nerd. I've been a Mateba nerd ever since I saw the Mateba 2006 on Ghost in the Shell, and the Sayunica is just like, it's that weirder.
Yeah.
And actually, oddly enough, more available. Like, the Sayunicas are rare, but the 2006s are like hen's teeth. But it's this interesting, weird, old Italian revolver. They're beautifully made.
Sure.
The bluing on them is second to none. The wood grips are perfectly made. It is a beautiful, beautiful revolver. It is everything you expect of Italian craftsmanship. They actually run fairly well from what I'm told. The only problem is the 454 Casuls tend to crack the grips.
Okay, I could see that. So go from wood grips and go to polymer, or go to aluminum scales.
I don't want that. I want a 3x7.
I understand. Yeah.
That's my unicorn gun.
That's fair.
It is pretty. It would be a fun thing to shoot at the range. It has no practical purpose. It has no practical purpose but to put a smile on my face. And I've wanted one since I was a teenager and I first got into guns. And they're not a common thing to see trade hands. And when one does trade hands, it's like cheap used car money, for God's sake.
Yeah, that can be some of the problem. Fortunately, I've never had a gun that I felt I very much had to have like that. That's been a very expensive firearm. I tend to like I don't know. I kind of tend to like the common guns, Remington 700s, Beretta 300s, M&Ps. I'm not a huge fan of Glocks. I've never really liked how the grips feel, but I don't know. I mean, I've encountered a number of extremely rare older guns just because of the circles I run in. An odd number of tool makers are also obsolete, obscure gun collectors and remanufacturers.
Okay, so let's go through the list. Toolmaker, the Venn diagram for toolmaker is like toolmaker, autistic, likes obscure guns,
or
marries
obscure
teachers,
machinery,
into obscure things, marries teachers, plays Warhammer and tabletop RPGs.
Actually, very few of them play Warhammer. That's kind of a...
Really?
Yeah. I only know one other guy who's in machining that plays Warhammer, and I play at a game store that has like 70 or 80 people that play Warhammer, which is a shocking number from the size of my town.
Interesting.
Yeah. There's more diesel mechanics than there are machinists at the Warhammer tables.
Okay. Color me shocked.
Yeah, but I've worked with 4 or 5 different guys that do home gunsmithing, like on the side as tool makers, and it's always for old, obsolete, antique firearms.
Well, anyway, so yeah, that's like my one unicorn. I'd pick up a Sayunica The problem is, the last time I saw one trade hands was, I don't know, 10 years ago, and it was like $1,400.
Now that I know it exists, I will put the word out to all the weird gun collectors I know, and I'll see if I can't find you one. I'll make you spend money.
Just be advised. The $1,400 one I saw trade hands 10 years ago did not include the spare barrels and like all the accoutrements.
Sure. Oh, you're looking for one with the whole deal.
On the one hand, I wouldn't be heartbroken about it because, like, for me, I want to shoot the thing.
Right.
I'm a collector, but I'm a collector that likes to shoot my stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, I would never own a firearm I was scared to shoot because I'm going to shoot the damn thing. I mean, I've been willed firearms that I take out to the range and shoot because if it's so finicky or so delicate that I can't shoot it, I'm not interested anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, you know, it did come with, I want to say it came with, what was it, 2, 4, and 6, or maybe it was like 3, 6, and 8. It came with 3 different barrels and the barrel jackets. That's kind of a thing. Google it if you're curious.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
But you could literally, like, if you had all the pieces, you could swap the barrels out on these things to literally, like, take the short barrel out, put the longer one in.
Sure.
That swap like the springs so you could shoot 38 specials out of it instead of 357s, which if you have the 357 springs in it, it'll shoot 38s just fine. It just won't cycle because too much spring pressure.
Right, yeah, 'cause it's not going to move the slide. Cylinder slide? Barrel assembly?
Figure that out.
I'm not sure what the term would be for that one.
Think about the revolver you had, and then bandsaw the thing in half, like
I know,
right below the barrel.
I've handled one of those.
Rail it together.
I've handled one of those Webleys.
Okay, well this is Italian Webley made in like the early to mid 90s.
Oh God. Well, that might actually be decent.
Oh, here's Dr. Scary Guy. Mateba revolving carbine in 44 Magnum for $15.5K.
Okay.
So the revolving carbine he's referring to is basically the Sayunica with a shoulder stock and like a carbine length barrel. It's the exact same thing. Those things go for a lot more money though because like of the Sayunicas, the 357 is the most common, followed by the 44, and the 454 was exceedingly rare.
Right.
The most common of the revolving carbines are orders of magnitude more rare than any of the Sayunicas were. So 15 stacks, not even shocked. That sounds about like right.
That sucks.
Yeah. You know, if only I'd had a cheaper hobby like cocaine.
Well, I guess if you get into... Well, it might be cheaper.
I don't know. I keep telling my wife that she is by far the most expensive habit I've ever developed.
Well.
And then she keeps saying, more expensive than cars? And I'm like, much more expensive than cars.
Yeah.
Much more expensive.
Cars are a self-limiting expense.
Bold of you to make that assertion. We'll go with that.
There's only so many parts that fit.
Everything fits if you weld it or grind it.
No. There are certain things that should not be welded and ground.
You didn't say should not. You said could not.
That's fair. There are magnesium blocks that you cannot weld. They will light on fire.
Dude, I've seen an LS swap Toyota Prius. Don't play games with me.
You can put an LS in anything.
Okay, let's get to topic. Revolution or insurgency? And we have to start off by coming to terms because I started this discussion in the patron chat a while back saying that, you know, what we're witnessing in this country is an insurgency, and Stewart got old man aggravated at me and said it was a revolution, that insurgencies and revolutions are different, and I looked up the definition, and they're similar enough that I would love to say that Stewart is wrong, and Nick said it's kind of like not all rectangles are squares, but all squares are rectangles.
Yeah, you can.
Which sounds a lot like trying to make the old man feel better about being wrong.
Well, no, because you can absolutely have a revolution without an insurgency. You can absolutely have an insurgency that is not a revolution. They often overlap or are attempting to overlap, but you know, I guess the point is that we don't know whether it will be a revolution or not, attempted or otherwise, yet. We do know that with the leaks out of Minneapolis that it's looking like an attempted insurgency and an attempted color revolution, including potentially backers foreign to the U.S.
No, I will grant you that as a fair take. Kind of what we were talking about, and you know, for the audience that isn't read into this, like this conversation kind of spun up on the heels of all of the the incredible malfeasance going on in several major population centers around the country, followed by the revelation that there was a significant amount of
billions in fraud.
Well, I was going to say I was going to refer to the significant coordination.
Oh yeah,
that was going on within these groups, between these groups, across different cities, in between different groups in different cities,
cross state lines.
Yeah, this is more organized than a quote unquote organic protest.
Mm-hmm. It is. I don't think anymore you can call these riots, these targetings of ICE agents, I don't think that you can call them protests anymore. I think that given what we now know with these leaks, that these are coordinated attacks with intelligence gathering operations behind them. That is an active insurgency.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
No, I get to feed you the rope. I didn't want to interrupt you.
It's okay. Now, I is it a violent insurgency? Some of it is, for sure. Does that mean we are going to continue to see escalation? Probably, I think.
So kind of from my perspective, like, now bearing in mind that like I've been on my experience with insurgency dates back to 2004 in Iraq and witnessing the very up close personal firsthand effects of that.
Mm-hmm.
And the parallels I see to what's going on in this country that's kind of coming to light now are a little concerning because it's not the violence. As bad as that sounds, it's not the violence that catches my attention. Violence is not desirable, but it in and of itself doesn't really alarm me at this point, which probably says more about my mental state than most things.
I think it says more about the state of political discourse than anything.
I don't even know so much that, but like for me, I guess like my brain just, because of my time in the military, I just compartmentalize all that. Like violence is just violence. It's something to be responded to.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that alarms me about all this is the level of organization that I'm witnessing around this now. Like this is, in past years, you would only know this if you've spent the last 10 years or so crawling the dark parts of the internet where the average person does not go and never will go and isn't supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
That I've been crawling mostly out of just morbid curiosity, and also because if you sit in a dark corner of a room long enough, people start talking as if no one's listening.
Yep.
Let's leave it at that. And the group of people who are organizing and participating in this action right now, 10 years ago, were kind of comical.
They were.
Their level of training was a giggle. Their ability to coordinate was laughable.
Mm-hmm.
Their real hands-on training and things that make a difference in physical altercations was zero. They had no hand-to-hand training, no combat training, no firearms training. The most rudimentary understanding of communications principles. They had no OPSEC. They had no information gathering ability. They were a joke.
They were.
For anybody that remembers, like, the first Trump administration, some of the nonsense that came out of that, some of these idiots that were NDing into the ground and carrying, like, airsoft guns with backwards optics and shit, that was the state of this large, broad coalition of agitators at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Now what I'm seeing is alarming because it's completely different in the prevailing 8 years, while the broad coalition of the right pretty much sat on their asses, the left got super serious and super driven about getting up to speed on things very, very, very quickly. And they have fully embraced military veterans who have hands-on experience in combat zones, either volunteering in Ukraine, volunteering in the Middle East, or with the U.S. Armed Services, who think the way they do. They've embraced those people into their ranks. They've received the lessons those people have to teach about the conflicts they were in, which are largely urban conflicts fought against an opposing force with greater capabilities. Like perfect, tailor-made insurgency training. They understand OPSEC, operational security. They understand InfoSec. They understand how to gather information. They understand how to pass information. They understand how to communicate. They organize.
They've formed decentralized and specialized information gathering and disseminating groups, which is very, very key.
Yeah. But like I said, it's all those things that concern me when I look at this, because yes, whether you call it an insurgency or revolution, to me personally, it's kind of six one way, half a dozen the other. For the average person, it will end up being the same end result. It's violence in the streets. It's going to escalate because that's just what happens. Yeah. These things never put themselves out by themselves.
No, they don't, because regardless, Jeff makes a point here that I think we should address. Escalation will depend on the election results. The goal is to get rid of MAGA. Maybe. But the problem that you're going to have is the leftists do violent thing over here, and they get the result they want. You know what that teaches people? That teaches a lot more idiots, some of which are on the right, that if I do enough violence, I get what I want. So you know what? It worked for them. Guess what? My turn now. I get what I want now. That is what the likely response will be. Not by everybody, but it doesn't take everybody to start an escalatory spiral. It only takes a few imbeciles.
You know how a swing works, Nick? Like a kid's toy, like at a playground, a swing, right? So you swing your feet back and forth, and every time you go through that revolution of swing forward, swing back, swing forward, swing back, you go a little further each direction and a little further each direction. It's like a pendulum escalating itself backwards and forwards. And it goes a little higher every time, a little further every time. That's these things. That's insurgency. It's not the fact that one side is always going to push, because eventually gravity wins and the pendulum swings back the other direction. The problem is when the pendulum swings back the other direction and the other side pushes against it, and now it swings back even further this direction. And then when the pendulum finally runs out of gas, starts swinging back the other direction, that side pushes it even further, and it becomes this constant tit for tat that goes back and forth, and the violence continues to escalate. And it doesn't have an end point. That's the worrying
thing. Sure it does.
Okay.
Sure it does.
It doesn't have a happy end point.
Gosh, no. No. Everything has an end point, though.
Yeah. Well, the end point, if other insurgencies are to be an example, is eventually one side gets tired of screwing around and tries to eradicate the other.
Correct. The end point is typically either political or ethnogenocide.
Yeah.
Or attempts at one of the two.
Oh, and if not ethnogenocide, then just genocide against the perceived other side.
Yeah, that's what I'm sure there's a word for it, but I call it like political.
I know what you genocide. Mean. Not ideological, like ethnic, but ideological genocide. But yeah, and I mean, and the problem is like, I'm sure you're enough of a history nerd to know that these things don't happen. These things don't usually come to a head and happen and are over and done with in a single generation. No. They don't happen in a year. These things go on and on and on and on.
And they also don't happen without external motivators and support.
Yeah, and that's been the weird part that's been coming out, because what was it, a couple of months ago, X started posting the based on the IP addresses, the actual
locations of where the users are posting from, and it turns out most of the most extreme voices on the left and right are all coming from overseas.
Right. Yep, left and right. Mm-hmm. All the people that are stoking both those fires, all the people pushing the pendulum back and forth, they're all overseas and have no skin in this game.
I wouldn't say all,
but they're happy to convince. They're happy.
A great number of them are.
A great many of them. But they're more than happy to encourage you to pick up a flashbang and blow your hands off.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Or run over an ICE agent and get shot. Mm-hmm. Or become shot in a questionable shoot because you were obstructing an ICE officer.
Yep.
I mean, that to me, that's the concerning part of this, Nick. Mm-hmm. There's all this pressure, and there's all of this talk, and there's all of this propaganda, and it is all laser focused on pushing the United States into a kinetic conflict with itself. Mm-hmm.
Because that's realistically the only way our foreign adversaries can do anything to the U.S. Our military is too strong. Our population is too large. Our economic factors are too great.
Kind of like unrestricted warfare all over again.
It is. That's exactly what it is. But
yeah.
Yep.
I want to ask the question, but there's no answer for it. I know that.
Go ahead, ask it.
What does anybody do in a situation like this? Because over a course of many years podcasting, 10 years actually, mm-hmm. this year in August we'll make 10 years. We'll have to do something special when we get close to August.
Should.
But over the course of podcasting for 10 years, I've been very careful in this space, the preparedness space, not to do two things. Mm-hmm. I don't like doom and gloom and, emergency swapping and all that. I don't like going to the audience and saying, be scared by stuff.
It's not productive.
That. It's not productive, and it just feels icky, and I've seen way too many prepper shows participate in it, and I hate doing it. I don't do it.
Yeah.
The other thing I absolutely hate doing is to say, this sucks, suck it up, buttercup, because there's no way to fix it. And in a situation like this, I don't know, dude. I've only got one trick up my sleeve, and it's not a universal fix.
I would say the only thing that we can do to address this problem is to continue the dialogue. That's really all you can do. Because
who are we continuing it with?
The people that aren't the insane people that are being radicalized. Because the more of the independents, the moderate leftists, the moderate right-wing people, whoever, they're not the minority. The minority are these insane people that are picking up flashbangs, because picking up random hand grenades is a great idea. Running over cops with your car is a great way to get home safely to your children. Those are not mentally stable people. We were never going to be able to have a discussion with those people. We weren't. It's the rest of the people that we need to keep talking to. Because eventually, through social ostracism, you can push people back into line. Why do you think they've been trying so hard to get rid of social pressure and ostracization for bad behavior? Because it works.
Yeah, it does.
And honestly, if you've got that crazy left-wing coworker that's saying, or right-wing coworker that's saying, we have to do X, Y, Z, we got to get violent. No, shame that person. Seriously, shame that person. Tell them that they are a psychopath and they deserve to be in a mental institution. And you're going to do anything you can to get that mental institution back open. Because that's what these people are. They're nuts. They're not sane. They are not stable. And they were never going to be rational to begin with. But what you can do is at least make it so it's socially uncomfortable for them. Because, to be fair, a lot of the normal people have been too passive about that for a very long time.
That we do agree about, because I've levied that at Christians. I've levied that at conservatives. Mm-hmm. I mean, dude, you and I have had this conversation about all the freaking conservative circles I got run out of 10 years ago because I was the crazy guy in the room saying we should be trying to tear down the NFA and we shouldn't be buying tax stamps. We should be screaming at our politicians saying this is unconstitutional and taking them to task. That if, I was the person saying that you can't comply your way out of bad laws and tyranny. You have to push against them using the process. And I got basically cast out of a lot of conservative circles for making statements that 10 years later, most people in the mainstream gun culture are making.
Yep. That's the only way it's going to move in the right direction, realistically.
And the only thing I would add to that, and actually it's not adding to it, it's pretty much what you said, just with a slightly different tinge on it. Mm-hmm. So, I've been having now, it bears pointing out that, I've been talking to my child for literal years about, the foundation of this country, the background of our laws, our founding fathers. I've always taken the standpoint. I encourage other parents. And if you're not a parent and you have young people in your life, teenagers, preteens, aunts, nieces, nephews, cousins, whatever, I encourage everyone to get involved in young people's lives. Yep. But I've always taken the point of view of if you don't know your history, then someone can lie to you about your history. If you don't know your rights, you don't have them. If you don't know the law, people can lie to you about what the law says. And the other thing I've always been very quick to point to push on her is do your own research, get your own facts, don't take what I say for granted. Go learn for yourself, make your own opinion, and then defend it.
Yep.
She's come to me several times just in the last several months with something she saw on social media, something she heard from a friend of hers at school that didn't pass the sniff test, gone and done her own research, and then come and talk to me about it and be like, I got told this, but this is what I found out. What do you know about this? And these are things she brings to me, and we agree on 90% of the things. There are things she and I just don't see eye to eye on, and
Fair
that's
enough.
fine. That's having teenagers, boys and girls. For those of you who have them, there is a cigar and a glass of whiskey waiting for you in heaven. Just take my word on it. We got a seat. We got our seat picked out and ready for us.
Hey, we were all teenagers at one point, making our parents' lives hell. It's just your turn.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, I remember what I was like as a teenager. I was a pain in the ass.
Well, parenting myself is a task sometimes.
Damn it, child! Why did I educate you?
and by the way, parenting smart children is a much more gigantic pain in the ass.
Because I told you so doesn't really hold water anymore, does it, Phil?
No more than it did when I heard that. I don't even try that maneuver because I know how that's going to end. I remember that. But I mean, I agree with you that we have to try to push the needle any way we can. We have to talk to the people that are in the middle, and a lot of times those people in the middle, they're the people closest to you.
They are.
They are your friends and your family and your neighbors and your coworkers. And I find that very often because I was about to say I'm very middle of the road, but let's be honest with each other. Most of y'all have been watching me for several years and know that I'm an autistic idiot on a rant most of the time. I can modulate my opinion enough to appear to be a pretty reasonable person sometimes. But I find myself in the middle of these conversations with people that I don't necessarily agree with, but they feel comfortable talking to me because I don't freak out and jump down their throat about stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to say, I don't see it that way. I see it this way.
Be the rational actor.
Yeah.
It is much more difficult to be mad at the rational actor than the irrational crazy person screaming at street signs.
Yeah. I think that's the part that worries me, though, is that, there's a saying, and you might have heard it before, and I'm kind of notorious for saying it in this house at least. But you know why you never play chess with a pigeon?
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter how good you are at chess, they're going to flip the board over, shit on everything, and strut away like they won. Mm-hmm. And that's the part of this discussion, that's the part of social media that really frustrates and scares the crap out of me, is that there's a whole bunch of pigeons out there.
There are.
That I look at and think, you just flipped over the board and crapped on everything and walked away like you won. But there's other people saying, yeah, the pigeon won the chess game. And I'm like, oh my God. It's idiocracy in real life.
Well, what we have to remember is that prior to social media and prior to the internet, the village idiot was the only idiot in that village. Maybe they had two, and if you come from a medium-sized hometown, you probably had a half a dozen. They all hung out at the same bar, and nobody paid attention to them because they were all getting drunk together in a corner. Okay? Now, what you have is every single idiot from every single village all coming together and going, you know what? Men can get pregnant. That's what you have. And
so you're saying that the idiots are reinforcing each other.
Oh, they are. The idiots are reinforcing each other. That's why we need to worry more about the other rational adults in the room.
Yeah, I think Jeff is saying that those are the people that we have to talk out of collapsing the system. I'll be honest, that I don't think we can, but I think what makes my head hurt the worst though is that it's not the village idiot. You're never gonna talk them out of it. You're never gonna save them. The people that frustrate me the worst, they're the ones who make decisions based on emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And emotion is inherently flawed because it doesn't have any rational basis. And very often, the people that are making those decisions emotionally are not going to be the ones that immediately feel the outcome of those decisions. And I keep saying people. What I really mean is a substantial portion of females.
Yeah. But
I hate to say it that way because there's a bunch of you ladies out there that are probably thinking to yourself, I'm very rational and I'm delighted and proud of y'all. I married one and y'all are a rare gift from God.
But I guarantee each one of them knows a dozen others that don't think rationally about most of the things they do. And I think a large part of that comes down to a little bit biology. Fair enough. You have to respond emotionally to children. I get it. And the other part of it comes down to the fact that they are not responsible for the outcome of their vote. Because it's always men that have to go off and die for that. Whatever the outcome of the vote is. They are not equally responsible. There's a paper that every man listening to this and every man in the U.S. that is over the age of 18 has had to sign.
Funny story. I didn't.
You didn't?
Did funny. Not. I enlisted when I was 17.
Okay, that's fair. You were already enlisted. So I should say the majority of us had to sign the selective service paperwork. Comes with getting your 18-year-old driver's license. You know, the one where they change it around a little bit so it's no longer a what do they call that? Probationary driver's license.
Yeah.
In order to register to vote, you have to be signed up for the selective service.
Yeah, I love to drop that on people that I was eligible to play with machine guns before I was eligible to vote.
Accurate. But I think that is the biggest part of it is for many generations now, women have had the right to vote. Excellent. I think it's a good idea. But they've not had the responsibility that comes along with that vote. Every right has an equal responsibility attached to it, or should have an equal responsibility attached to it. The Second Amendment, the biggest of all. If you're going to have a gun, you're responsible for every bullet that's fired. If you're going to cast a vote, you should be responsible for the penalties that come from that vote that you cast.
Well, this is my greatest argument against universal suffrage, because I tend to think that if you're not contributing to the federal tax, if you don't own property and pay taxes, you shouldn't be voting for how those tax dollars get spent.
There's an argument to be made.
It's a damn good argument, I think. And Dr. Scary Guy, how is that even legal? Voluntarily put you in jail, absolute definition of duress.
It is.
Yeah. Welcome to the United States of America.
Welcome to every country on the planet. I mean, look at Switzerland. It's not optional. You will be in the Swiss military.
Israel's
another one.
Yeah.
Is it better? I don't know.
It is. It does give off mild Starship Trooper vibes, though.
It does. Did you ever read the Starship Troopers book?
I have not. It's on a list of things that I keep telling myself I need to read because everybody keeps recommending it. But it's like, Jesus,
you really
Christ,
do,
when do I have the time?
It is so. it is not a fascist dystopia like the movie is. It is very different. It is extremely different.
I thought it was an analogy for invading another country for oil.
Well, you need to read the book. I would say you need to read the book. There's a lot more to it than that.
Jeff Jag is saying Finland has mandatory service too, but
I didn't know
Finland is an interesting place though, because Finland, like, their national sport is shooting Russians.
That's true.
So, you know, like, mandatory service is really more like an after-school elective for them.
Yeah.
It's like if you want to be able to shoot the Russians, you have to eat your vegetables and practice with your rifle.
Mm-hmm. And you know,
this is like the conversation you and I had forever ago when we were talking when Putin was saber rattling about invading Eastern
Poland?
Europe.
Buddy, I've got a Polish coworker that cannot wait to go shoot some Russians. He will go back in a heartbeat for a Polish-Russian war.
Yeah, there is a 10 out of 10 chance that if Russia ever invades Finland and or Poland, that I am going to have several episodes of just watching war footage and laughing about it, because the Poles and the Finns cannot stand Russians.
And they've spent the entire time since the collapse of the Soviet Union arming to get to deal with Russia.
Yes.
And what was
Grandpa will be pulling Mosins out from underneath his bed mattress to freaking go back to work.
Oh my
it will
gosh,
go
yes.
down.
But, you know, just to clarify, this is not to be said that women shouldn't vote or that women don't have any right to vote. I just think they need to have the same responsibility as everyone else. And whether that means getting rid of the draft entirely or including them in the draft, that's fine. As long as you have the same responsibility for the same right.
Yeah, I always get weird at a moment like this because for purely selfish reasons, having a daughter, I absolutely don't want her involved in the draft.
I think
the draft isn't.
But if I had a son, I wouldn't want him involved in the draft either.
Well, and maybe this would be a fun thing to round this out with. So, like, here's my synopsis on the idea of a draft.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, this is exactly what I would apply, like, in Ukraine, where you had young Ukrainian men that were jumping the border left, right, and center trying to get away from the war. And by the way, young Russians who were malingering because they were trying not to get sent to the friggin' front.
Yep.
If you have to conscript your people to go fight in a war, that in and of itself is an indictment of the validity of the war in the eyes of the people. Take the difference between Vietnam and World War II. Mm-hmm. Or World War One.
Yep.
Either or. World War II is probably a better example for this. World War II, you have 15-year-olds forging birth certificates to go fight the freaking Japanese in the Pacific in one of the most brutal conflicts of a generation. And in Vietnam, you have people that are literally like smuggling themselves in luggage to Canada to get away from the draft. Yep. Because the prevailing sentiment at the time in World War II is our patriotic duty to fight for the country.
We were
because
attacked.
We have been attacked and we are fighting back. And in Vietnam, the prevailing sentiment was, this ain't our fight. We got no business being involved in this. Why am I getting sent to Southeast Asia to get shot at in a foreign land for someone else's soil? Mm-hmm. And that in and of itself is the way I look at all wars. It's the way I look at the draft. If you have to draft people to fight, the people do not think the war is worth fighting. Period. End discussion.
Mm-hmm. Stuart is correct, though. He does bring up a good point. 53% of people were drafted in World War II.
True. But now I don't have a statistic. I don't have a statistic for this, but at least everything I've heard from people who were alive back then was that it was almost unheard of for a person to try to get out of the draft.
There were almost some senators' sons, very famously, that got into politics later in life.
I don't acknowledge that politicians are human beings to begin with.
That's
so
fair.
Let's use another example.
No, there were people that did dodge the draft in World War II. It was a much smaller minority than it was in Vietnam. So there's always some. There's always some.
Yeah. There always will be.
Mm-hmm.
There will always be privileged people that believe that they are anointed and they are far too important to go and shed blood for the very thing they supported 5 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like the one thing that I've seen come out of politics. That's the one thing I've seen come out of the meme war in the last decade that I really have it really has resonated with me. I firmly believe that rather than put the power to declare war in the hands of Congress and the executive branch, what we probably ought to do is put it in the hands of the people directly. But here's the trick. You vote for war, you get to go fight for it.
But the populace is generally so easily swayed by stupid emotional arguments. I mean, look at how much worse would GWOT have been if it had been a declared war?
But, again, if you vote for it, you get to go fight for it.
No, I get that.
If you vote against it, you get to stay home.
I fully get that. Well, I don't know if that would... You would have a lot of military age men voting against it on principle. But
but I guess here's my point is your point was a lot of people are swayed by emotional arguments.
Oh, they are.
What's a more emotional argument than if you vote for this, you might go die in a foreign land and get your head shot off? To me, it is the only thing to balance the scale, which is if you vote for it, you get to go put your boots on and go deal with it. And if you vote against it, then you get to stay home. And the argument ends at that moment. If the people say they're willing to go fight for it, they can go fight for it. And if the people say, damn this, damn it.
I don't know. I don't have a great argument for or against that. I have feelings about it, but that is not really relevant.
Oh, it's a stupid idea.
Yeah, I don't. My gut reaction is it would not function well at all, and you would just get manufactured consensus. You know.
Well, I don't think the current system works particularly well either. So
no, it clearly doesn't. But it's better than the king has decided we're invading Burgundy. I mean.
You mean, okay, but how is that functionally different from what we have today, where the king decides we're invading Iraq?
Yeah, well, I would argue that Congress really should have put the kibosh on that, and Bush should have been indicted on criminal charges for trying to do that. But was he? No, he wasn't, but he should have been.
So the king said, let's invade Burgundy, and everybody else went along with it.
But I'm talking about the system as written, not necessarily the system as applied. Because you can apply a system incorrectly no matter what you're doing. But
if you use anything wrong enough, it lets out smoke.
Yeah, most things become a smoke machine if you use them wrong enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like our government all over the place. Yes. Because look, and I understand. I'm being a little bit tongue in cheek. I am giving you a hard time, but fair. You understand it's totally in good fun because, like, I agree with you about the way the system is supposed to work. Mm-hmm. But at 43 years old and with the level of sarcasm and coffee that I have in my bloodstream on the average night, I'm also enough of a snarky bastard to say, regardless of how it's supposed to work, it's not working right.
Yep. And it's largely not working right because we, the people, are not holding Congress and the president to account when they do things like this.
Recently, there was a poll that came out that said that something like 70% of independents wanted there to be a neither of these option in all elections.
A vote of no confidence, yeah.
Yes. Basically make
all these options suck. Redo.
Exactly.
All of you are barred from this election.
Even if there was only one option, like you could select no.
Yes.
And they'd have to go back to the primary system and everything.
I love it. I think no should be a possible option.
I think so too. I don't think we'd have elected officials ever again. I
think that what we would get is a far more moderate government across the board.
Will we get a far more moderate government, or will we just get more gerrymandering and foolishness and vote manufacturing and propaganda? Because my experience is that the machine does not like to be questioned or challenged.
Sure. But I think,
which is why this great idea will probably never happen.
Probably. I think that initially you would get a far more moderate across-the-board government. Because they would need to appeal to a greater plurality. Let's put it that way.
No, I mean, that's a fair point. And Hell, I'm crazy enough to give it a try at this point.
I mean, I cannot think of a single presidential election where I have been enthusiastic about any choice that I have voted in.
Okay, put you on the spot. Which presidential election was the first one you were eligible to vote in?
Obama.
I was about to say, was it Obama 1 or 2?
2008.
Okay. Damn, Nick.
Dude, I told you, I was 5 in 95. I was born in 90. Plus 18. It's 2008.
The first election, I was born in 82. So I was eligible to vote in 2000.
Reagan was a terrible president, and he never should have been elected. He's responsible for where we are now. In a great portion. No fault divorce, a bunch of the gun control stuff. Reagan fucked us on a lot.
But here comes Phil being the devil's advocate. Did Reagan screw us any worse than any other president since him?
Since? No.
Okay.
But he's definitely the worst since Woodrow Wilson.
We've got Clinton.
Clinton
screwed everybody. Clinton screwed everybody.
Well,
so let's just get that out of the way.
did some things that I really agree with.
Yeah, he also
really
presided
job
over
on
Ruby Ridge, and
we haven't even gotten close to this.
He also presided over Ruby Ridge and Waco, so that's kind of like two black eyes.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's not including the white dress that he's more famous for.
That, and he brought Hillary.
There's some people in this audience that don't know what I'm referring to, and you really should go and Google that.
And you know what? In all fairness to Stewart, he's correct. There was no way to know that back then when you voted for him.
I mean, look, Stewart and I have had this talk, and like, I don't take him or anybody to task who was of voting age at that time. It was before my time, because like, you know, Stewart has been we've got to get Stewart on this show sometime to talk. You and I could sit here and have a drink for an hour and a half and just let him talk, and it'd be an awesome show. But like, the flat fact of the matter is
Clinton's
that
more conservative than Trump is now.
In a lot of ways, and that's scary.
Almost every way.
Yeah. But, like, Stewart is very upfront about the fact that, like, when the Hughes Amendment got passed, literally no one knew what it was or what it did until FFL started turning forms around. Like, that's the level of information we have at our fingertips. That's the level of coordination we in the gun community have now that did not exist in the mid and late 80s. Mm-hmm. So, like, on that front, we have a lot more information. We're stopping a lot more bullcrap before it turns into a problem. And it's hard to hold that generation responsible for that because, like, you couldn't disseminate information back then as fast as you can now.
No, but they could have started the legal challenges immediately.
Now that is
they
very
could have
fair
been
criticism.
as rabidly litigious as the Second Amendment community is right now.
But 10 years ago, I was the persona non grata nut job of the gun community, many gun community corners.
I'm not saying they would have been,
so what I'm saying is, 40 years ago, anyone who was saying the kinds of things I said 10 years ago would have been laughed out of the room.
Yeah.
So I agree with you that like lawsuits would have been really great. I don't think they were possible back then. There was too much sentiment against them.
They might not have been. It might not have been possible. But you know,
okay. Perfect example. Can you imagine a firearms policy coalition in 1986? All their social media posts start with "F you know."
True. I'm trying to think back to media I know of from the 1980s. And
I mean, as much cocaine as there was floating around in
I'm
the 80s,
going to be honest with you, man.
It doesn't hold a candle.
I have a very limited perspective on the 1980s. Because
it was an awesome time to be alive.
I'm sure it was. All I have to draw on from that is what has survived as popular media and cult media.
Yeah.
Which is an extraordinarily narrow and not at all adequate to answer that question, if I think it's possible. Now, from what I've seen, like Donnie Darko and that stuff, yeah, I think that absolutely could have existed. Would it have captured the Second Amendment cultural zeitgeist of the time? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think it would have. I think it would have appealed to a completely different crowd than what was most of the Second Amendment community at that point.
Yeah, I mean, the NRA of Charlton Heston was not going to go toe-to-toe with the federal government, much less with Ronald Reagan, over the issue of machine guns. It's just, I don't think it was, they should have, I wish they had, but I just don't think it was politically, socially feasible at the time. I don't think the temperature in the room was going to allow something like that. And I mean, my dad and I had this argument years ago about like, permitless carry, and he eventually came around to my way of thinking, and he was one of several groups of gun rights organizations that were at the state capitol browbeating our own politicians into supporting constitutional carry before it got passed in Louisiana. But I can remember a time when that man told me unironically, we don't want the wrong people to have guns. And I was like, have you seen the 6 o'clock news? The wrong people already have guns.
Yeah, that was never a valid argument to me either, because as a teenager, was able to build a shotgun.
But I'm not saying it was a valid argument. What I'm saying is it was the common argument.
Sure, but the common argument that you see online right now, which is, look at the common arguments that we see push forward that are absolutely insane and completely irrational. Mm-hmm. That's a completely irrational argument. It's been a completely irrational argument since the slave laws. We can't have the freed slaves getting guns, because what if they're mad about us having kept them as slaves? It was a bad argument then. It's a bad argument now.
But I guess what I'm saying is like it took time for the mainstream gun community to turn that corner to the idea that, machine guns are not just for gangsters and silencers aren't just for assassins. Like the common tropes and bullcrap that we've heard time and time again, even in our time. Yeah. It took time for the mainstream to realize that's nonsense. And now that they have, we're seeing all this pressure going the other direction, pushing towards full auto legalization, pushing the technology towards forced reset triggers, pushing hard to make suppressors legal, if not permitless one day. Like, we're seeing all this pressure going the other direction, but that current has changed directions even in our lifetime.
It has, and it's unfortunately because we've seen gains for the Second Amendment community, it has created eddies like in California, Washington, Illinois, New York. Yeah. Where they have just enough power to do whatever they want unchallenged. They're like, no, those people are changing things and they're scary. So we're gonna take away everything here. Because we're seeing some success nationwide.
Yeah. And, back to what we were saying about the having no faith in the Supreme Court to ever pull their panties out of their butt and do the right thing. I don't see the Supreme Court, nor I see the executive branch ever truly putting their foot down on these states' necks and saying, either you embrace the Second Amendment and let your people have freedom, or we disassemble your states. I don't think there's appetite for that in this country.
No, there isn't. And I think the biggest reason why is because the way it is now, with the states as dichotomized as they are, serves the two-party system and keeps the two parties in power.
So we're right back to talking about how much longer is it till balkanization?
Oh, it's already happening. We already have states ignoring federal law. We have had states ignoring federal law for quite some time now when it comes to the drug enforcement laws. We've had
and immigration.
And immigration and a number of other things. There's quite a few federal laws that are currently being ignored by some states more than others.
And that's before we even consider the number of not even state sanctioned, but just states where there is massive wholesale ignoring of federal or state firearms laws.
Yep.
The body of the people has said, that's cute, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We saw it with the bump stock ban. We've seen it with other various firearms legislation. We've seen it with state level assault weapons bans, where whether it's the people or whether it's the state government or whether it's a local government and the sheriff says, I'm not enforcing that nonsense, we do continue to see this situation over and over and over where a body of people says, I'm not doing that. That's stupid.
Mm-hmm. We do. Unfortunately, I think that the cultural differences in the U.S., and it's not so much regional cultural differences, it is urban versus rural cultural differences, are going to continue to become more and more stark, just like they have for the last 50 years. And I think that's a large driver of the problem because, the more people you get in these cities, once you have a voting block of one or two cities that can take control of the legislative power of the entire state, that state kind of runs off the rails. Look at California. Look at New York. I mean, hell, look at New York City right now.
Is there an analog that is GOP / Republican / right wing, where there's like single party control of a large metro area or a state?
Nope. There are single party control of states, but not because of a single large metro area. Pretty much every large metro area votes overwhelmingly left.
Okay, but I would allow that. Like, if there's any state that is just like, it's going to be Republican no matter what anybody says forever, because it's basically de facto single party state.
Probably Montana. Can't say Texas anymore. Texas is on the border of flipping.
Texas is very purple. Mm-hmm. I will say that there some years back, I did know a state senator from Montana. He was actually a libertarian, but he ran as a Republican. And he told me flat out, he said, I could pretty much stand on the front steps of the state capitol and denounce property taxes and get reelected twice, even though I'm only eligible to run one more time.
Interesting.
Like, his point of view was, he said, my constituency is overwhelmingly libertarian. He said, they sent me here to vote no to anything the state wants to do to encroach on their rights.
Good. That is what you should be sending your representatives to do, is to not let the state do things.
Yeah.
There are very few things that government should be doing. Protecting your civil liberties, protecting your property, and protecting your life from people that would violate one of the above. That's really the only purposes.
I don't even know if I agree with that.
Really?
Yeah, because like I think
you don't want police to investigate violent or property crime.
Hold up. When we say the state, we're talking about the government at any level.
Sure.
Just a level set that expectation.
Yeah.
I think that the state has an obligation to defend the borders of our nation.
That would be protecting your rights and property.
Okay, in a macrocosm.
Sure.
The reason I say things like protect my rights, like as the individual, is I kind of lean back on the idea that like maybe we as individuals are supposed to protect ourselves on our own property.
Oh, we definitely are.
Like perfect example I always use is I tell people all day long, like back when defund the police was a big thing, I had this debate with lots of friends of mine who were like, yeah, man, defund the police. And I was like, yeah, go ahead and defund the police. It doesn't bother me any. And they'd all get this cockeyed look on their face like, but you're a Republican. And I'm like, actually, funny story, I'm not a Republican. But second of all, I'm like,
I'm the guy with body armor and night vision.
And that was literally what I told a lot of them. The police that you want to defund, don't defend my house. I do that. The police are the guys who are going to show up in polyester uniforms and make me explain to them why I smoke checked this guy in the front lawn 20 minutes after it happened.
Realistically, I would just assume they make their job harder.
Yeah, realistically, I'd prefer if they just not even show up, and then I just, as 3 S's, shoot them, shovel them, and shut up. Mm-hmm. And that's how you deal with home intruders where I come from. Mm-hmm. Like, the idea that the police protect me is hilarious, because they don't. They come and take reports after the problem's already solved or not solved. So, to my way of thinking about it, it's like, okay, the police that you want to defund are not protecting me. And they're not really protecting my property, because that's my job. What they're really here to do is to protect all the rest of you from people who are much more comfortable using violence than you are, apparently.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's...
Yeah, Dr. Scary Guy.
I think my response time is 40-something minutes.
I am about a quarter mile from the nearest firehouse that direction. I am about a half a mile from the nearest police station that direction. And there's a sheriff's substation a quarter mile that direction. And actually, I live outside city limits. There's just a lot of law enforcement around here.
Well, it's a major metro area.
Yeah, well, I mean, bearing in mind, like, and I tell everybody, I live in like, on the North Shore of Lake Pontchartrain.
Yep.
If you want to get any closer than that, you can Google it. It's not hard to find me.
No.
But like in this area, we're outside the city of New Orleans, but it's a big metro area, and there's a lot of law enforcement around.
Mm-hmm.
But still, even with a response time that fast, if you gotta stay on the phone if you gotta stay on 911 for 5 minutes waiting for help, you're doing this wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean,
that
sure,
and I'm just dying to see what it looks.
See what happens.
That and I'm just dying to see what 12 gauge looks like under with a PVS 14 on.
Dangerous. That's what it looks like.
Well, is there anything else to chuck in here before we walk this one out the door, man? I mean,
I don't think so.
We started off with a fun-loving, light-hearted, fun conversation about guns, and then we ended it with doom and gloom.
We didn't mean to start talking about guns.
I feel like every time we set out to talk about guns, though, we wind up diverting ourselves.
Well, we're easily distracted.
I mean...
Very easily distracted.
Yeah, squirrel. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and kick this one out the door. It's 9 o'clock at night. He's got to work tomorrow. I don't. I'm going to the gun range with Pops, so...
I'm going to pick up donuts in the morning. I'm excited.
I'm excited for you. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. We'll figure it out. Maybe we'll ask the patrons to chuck something to us.
We should. Make the patrons come up with a thing.
Jeff Jag, new meme idea. The you get paid meme, but with response times. I'm not familiar with that one. And Stuart wants me to bore the audience tears again with more comms talk.
Although, think about that. It is a new year.
Well, but
that means we also hit the refresh on Phil's financial talk.
We have been building out Vicarians, and
I need to work on mine more.
And I do actually have a comm setup integrated into that vest.
I need to sneak into my wife's craft room to take up some time on her sewing machine.
You don't just have your own?
I don't, because why have two sewing machines? We don't use that very often. I just don't know if hers will sew through a triple layer of nylon webbing. I don't think it will, but my grandma has an industrial strength quilting device that will.
I was about to say, given the amount of like old machinery you have lying around, I'm shocked you don't have like a friggin' sewing machine that'll shove a needle through a piece of plywood from like the 1920s.
One of my grandparents has 15 treadle-powered sewing machines that are cast iron.
And you don't have one in your basement?
I'm certain one will make its way here eventually. I am not hastening that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll chuck it to the patrons and see if Stuart's really serious about comms or if he's just trying to needle me because he knows I'll talk about comms autistically for an hour and everybody else will fall asleep.
I mean, other patrons can outvote Stuart. This is democracy-ish. It's more of a dictatorship with Phil at the head.
Is. Oh, I'm not a good person to be a dictator. Anyway, matter of fact, it's going to go out the door. Thanks for hanging out with us. It's been an hour and a half of mayhem, and lots of patrons have stuck around with us.
Which is good.
For the chat, and I appreciate y'all, because it makes it more entertaining for us.
It does.
But we'll talk to y'all another week. Bye, guys.
Bye.